Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. Except, of course, it is not warm anymore, is it? No. The thing is that, of course, I'm doing this nocturnally again, because, honestly, I did have time today to do it during the day, but I fell asleep. I have been losing sleep a lot recently, for several reasons, but none of which are, like, mental concerns or whatever. I'm not, staying up late because I'm stressed too much, although there is one thing stressing me that is keeping me up, but that is, I'll get to that in a moment. So, essentially, before I do anything else, I would like to extend a happy birthday to Aphmau, because I believe that today is in fact her birthday. I can't really confirm or deny that, because obviously I'm only relying on internet sources for that information, but there you go. If it happens to be Aphmau's birthday, then to Aphmau, I say happy birthday. Right, so on to the week. Essentially, I guess I can tell you about stuff that we were working on in the classes this week. So contextless scenes. Now those are ones where you do naturalistic stuff. I'm going to cross the road quickly. Naturalistic stuff. And you apply basically the given circumstances to the characters in a scene that you get without any stage directions or prior information about them at all. Not even their names, you decide the names and everything. So of course you can imagine that for a dual honours creative writing student such as myself, it is very fun. I got paired up with Izzy, a fellow creative writing student, and they and I created a very interesting, very rich backstory to this one scene, to the point where actually, well, we weren't the only ones requested this, but we were requested to turn it into an actual play or actual book or something. So I reckon that would be a good idea, because I know that they have been talking about doing their staging shows and stuff. They wanted to stage Greece, so potentially after that. So who knows, maybe now would be a good time to do the writing process and then decide things much later on. Which is good, because if you know me, I tend to rush things into other projects. Speaking of which, there's a new, well, not new game that I've discovered, or that I've been introduced to, but it's new to me, called Impotant Life. And yes, some people are probably cringing right now, because I can tell you that Impotant Life is not a perfect project, but it is one that lines up with an idea that I had years ago. I don't know if you recall, but sometime in 2014, 2015, I did a project where I was called Decaday, which was supposed to be 10 videos in one day, became 10 videos in 2 days. I don't even know if I made the goal or not. They were all terrible. One of them was a pilot for a Spanish show called La Gente Verde. I plan to adapt that into something that's actually in English. And the thing is that I did that in Spanish because that was where I originally started it out, because it was a site called Keiko Friends, or Keiko Hotel as it later got renamed, that I played on as a child, and I wanted to revisit it. And actually, Impotant Life is set up in a similar way to Keiko Hotel, but it's 3D instead of 2D, and actually the controls, if anything, they're more varied, but they're kind of worse and slower, which means that if we do scenes, it will require a lot of editing and a lot of pausing. So yeah, potentially, I can see now why Aphmau records the audio separately versus actually doing it in situ. I might discuss that later with the group, but I do need to talk about Olympus with them, because as of tomorrow, the Mutant Girl episode 8 should be out. I've been having trouble with this one, actually. So that's what I've been talking about. The only thing I said was stressing me out and keeping me up at night. That's the thing. So I was very ambitious when I wrote the script. There's stuff in there that I've never attempted before. Well, obviously that's like every episode ever attempted something before. That's kind of the point. But more so this time. And maybe I didn't give myself enough time to actually establish it, or like the university routine was getting to me by this point. I don't know what it is, but it ended up being the case that I just don't have the time really to talk about it as much as I want to. And then today I wanted to actually edit it, but I just collapsed. The only time I woke up was when the electricians came around to look at my electric stuff, and they woke me up, and that was interesting because they just saw me like in bed at 3 in the afternoon. But whatever. They were quite cordial about it, so it was okay. But yeah, then I just went back to sleep, honestly. And I only woke up maybe about half an hour ago, quarter of an hour ago, somewhere in between those. Yeah. Honestly, like around this time every month I get really stressed because of the Music Girl release date. I think if I do another project, I am never putting a release date to it ever again. It just so happened that the second episode was released on the same day of the month as the first one, and I made that a tradition. A tradition that has since been broken, actually, but I just kept going because, as people will be very aware, I am a very stubborn individual. So, of course, I just kept going and going and going, and it does always stress me out, not so to this degree. Like, episode 6 was actually kind of a breeze to make, even though it was a much more ambitious project than before, because I had the moving backgrounds to attend to. This time I did try and get an animator to do one scene that I'm missing at the moment, but he actually didn't get enough instructions from me, a bit like Roxy last month actually. And honestly, I just don't know. And of course, it doesn't help that Roxy is going through a lot right now, and I'm not going to get into that because that's not my place to say. But obviously, editing a video, even if it is cathartic to her, so she claims, might not be best in line with events. And also being on Aphmau life, I think that kind of didn't help things, honestly. But yes, whatever. If push comes to shove, I will just split the episode into 2 parts, and I will release the second part later. But the problem is that the only good place to split it is about 3/4 of the way in. So if I were to keep on making this into a new thing, I would have to write other scenes to adapt it, or pull stuff from episode 9 and start rearranging the script. Not preferable, but I'm willing to do it if I have to. So yeah, it might be easier at this point. Might be easier. Yeah, of course. So I guess that's it. Well, there's obviously lots of stuff that happened this week, but not stuff to get into. I'm actually on my way to the Everyman Playhouse right now. I'm going to watch Amelie if I'm not actually late for the reunion. And yeah, I'm going to see how that goes. Everyone's really excited about this one. I'm not too into musicals, so I don't know much about it. But last time I went to watch a musical was Maggie May, and I really enjoyed it, so you know what? Here I am. I guess my better judgment, I should be editing, but this was planned a long time ago, and it's a group outing, and I need the social activity. So you know what? Here we are. And as for everyone over there, please do leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. And on that note, until next time, farewell.